All right, guys, if you didn't know already, a 10% tariff will be imposed on all countries, taking effect in a couple of days. What is a tariff? It's a tax. Another word for it is a duty, and it's imposed by a government or a country or a customs territory on imports of goods into that territory. Not only is it a source of revenue, but tariffs can also be used to regulate foreign trade and policies, to pretty much punish bad actors when it comes to global trade. If you feel you're being taken advantage of, you can use a tariff to essentially crack the whip on those you feel are the perpetrators. And that's pretty much what's happening here. However, there's always a backlash. There's always side effects. And in this case, it's going to be a rise in prices across the board. Now, let's clear up a common misconception about tariffs. That misconception is that the countries that are exporting their goods into the U.S., for example, are going to pay the tariffs themselves. This is not the case. You see, when the U.S. imposes a tariff on imported goods, that tax is actually paid by the U.S. importers. Those are the American companies that purchase and bring in these foreign products. These companies, these U.S. importers, pay the tariff to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection at the time the goods enter the country. For example, if a U.S. retailer imports $10,000 worth of goods, which are subject to this 10% tariff, that company has to pay $1,000 to the U.S. government. The exporting country has already paid their asking price. So as a result, the U.S. importers, the U.S. companies or manufacturers typically pass that additional cost down the supply chain, which results in higher prices for me and you at the cash register and reduced profit margins for the businesses themselves, and many times changes in the purchasing decisions to avoid the tariffed products. Now, that last one is an indirect way of punishing the exporting countries, because now importing countries are going to be looking for alternatives to that exporting country's products, or at least not buying as much of it as they would have before the tariffs. Now, this 10% tariff that's going to be imposed on all the imports from all countries, it's what's called a reciprocal tariff. Quote, reciprocal means that they do it to us and we do it to them, according to the current administration. And for the building industry, this reciprocal tariff would spell the death of many businesses in the building industry who are already dealing with a 25% tax on steel, aluminum, copper, and other metals. Fortunately, the administration has given some sort of relief by making steel, aluminum, copper, and other metals exempt from this extra 10% tariff. If you are any kind of tradesman, DIY person, home improvement enthusiast, I'm sure you've noticed the price increases in the hardware store. And it really doesn't matter if the tools are imported, foreign made, or domestically produced, American made. It's obvious that the foreign made tools are going to go up in price, just based on the fact that many tools are made of steel and aluminum, copper, and other components that fall under that 25% tariff. But the manufacturers of American made or domestically produced tools will start to see less competition just because of those tariffs. But they also use the same raw materials that are being taxed. And as a result, their prices will go up as well. But that's not even accounting for the fact that they will raise their prices just because they can and justify it because all the other prices are going up because of the tariffs. This is the perfect example of a rising tide lifts all boats, whether that boat needed lifting or not. And the next logical conclusion would be that not only are material costs increased, but services rendered will also be increased. It doesn't matter if you're a big contractor or a small contractor. These tariffs will most likely lead to delays and budget overruns, especially if you have a fixed price contract already in place. Now you have to struggle to figure out how to absorb those higher costs. You may even have to eat them, which defeats the purpose of any business. But you see how these tariffs can disrupt the whole process. Think about the delays that you may have to deal with. Material shortages, increased customs inspections, scrambling to find alternative suppliers. An overrun budget can cost you the job. Sometimes the client simply can't afford the unexpected price increase. Renegotiating a contract when it's not the client's fault is not the easiest thing to do. This is why it's important to keep on top of economic trends, economic disruptions, and I dare say politics, because you never know who's going to make decisions that you have no control over. A small contractor should always identify materials that are likely to be affected by tariffs and that could affect their current and future projects. You should always make sure that your contracts have a price escalation clause that cover changes in the law or what they call force majeure clauses. Always maintain a good relationship with your clients. Tell them about the potential cost increases and that you would need them to work with you on managing the situation. Always have a diverse set of suppliers. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket. This would help to mitigate the risk of shortages and price increases. Maintain a good relationship with these suppliers. If you have the square footage, you may even want to consider stockpiling materials before a tariff takes effect to avoid shortages and price increases. And make sure that your budget has enough padding to cover any potential tariff-related cost increases. At the end of the day, this administration has executed a chess move of utmost proportions. All domestic companies that thought they could run to other countries seeking shelter from the tariffs imposed on China will now have to recalculate their moves. For example, Stanley Black & Decker CEO Donald Allen has stated that if they were to move their Chinese operations to the U.S., the cost to make products would be 60 to 70% higher as a result of the tariffs. Now, this is all in the name of reviving the manufacturing base that the U.S. once was. And if me and you, as the consumer, has to pay a higher price at the cash register for a while before that happens and the dust settles, is it worth it? Leave your comments below. Hi guys, I know sometimes when it comes to those home improvement projects, it can be overwhelming and you just don't know where to start. That's why I'm inviting you to go and grab this simple home improvement planner that'll take all the stress off. It works on any device with a PDF reader. You don't need any special software. You can view it online or offline. You can even print specific pages if you need. And it's so easy to share with contractors or family. You can set and track your total budget. You can break down costs by category. You can record material expenses, track contractor payments, keep digital receipts. You can compare estimated versus actual costs. And the great thing about it is you can monitor your spending in real time. And the best part about it is you can document your whole journey because it allows you to take before and after pictures for each room or area of your home or space. Guys, this is the perfect planner to get started, especially if you're beginning on your DIY journey. You want to start it off right. So go grab the Calibrate Home Improvement Planner. I'll leave the link in the description below. And you guys have a great one.